For most of recorded history, China was not just a nation. It was a world unto itself. A civilization of emperors, scholars, inventors, and dynasties that flourished long before many modern nations even existed. For nearly 2,000 years, China commanded immense economic and cultural influence, accounting for a large portion of global GDP during the height of the Silk Road era. And yet, by the 19th century, China was no longer the towering giant it once was. Foreign invasions, internal rebellions, and collapsing dynastic rule sent the empire into chaos. What followed was a century of humiliation, war, occupation, revolution, and fragmentation. But history is never finished. Today, China is rising again. Its economy may challenge the US for global leadership. Its influence stretches across continents. Its technology is reshaping industries. Its military is expanding. Its foreign policy is bold. And its population, 1.4 billion strong, is stepping back onto the world stage. But how did this happen? How did a country once torn apart by war become a global superpower in just a few decades? And what does this rise mean for the world? This is the story of how China rose again in the 21st century. The fall before the rise. To understand China's resurgence, we must first understand its collapse. Throughout the Qing dynasty, China believed it was the Middle Kingdom, the center of the world. But as Western powers industrialized, China resisted change. The Opium Wars shattered the illusion of invincibility. European nations forced China to sign unequal treaties. Ports were seized, territories were lost. Foreign influence spread like ink on silk. By the early 20th century, China was fractured. The Qing dynasty fell. Warlords carved the nation into pieces. Japan invaded. Civil war erupted between nationalists and communists. Hunger, poverty, and instability defined everyday life. China was a sleeping giant, but a wounded one. When the Communist Party took control in 1949, the goal was clear: rebuild the nation at any cost. But early attempts, like the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, brought widespread suffering and economic stagnation. China was unified, but still incredibly poor. Something drastic had to change. The turning point, Deng Xiaoping and the Great Opening. Everything shifted in 1978. A quiet, pragmatic leader named Deng Xiaoping introduced reforms that transformed China's future. His philosophy was simple. It doesn't matter if the cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice. Ideology mattered less than results. Deng opened China to foreign investment. He allowed farmers to sell surplus crops. He encouraged private businesses. And he created special economic zones like Shenzhen. Tiny fishing villages turned into global manufacturing hubs. Factories multiplied. Jobs exploded. Foreign companies rushed in. Western countries saw an opportunity for cheap labor and enormous markets. China's economy grew at a pace the world had never seen before. Over the next 40 years, 800 million people were lifted out of poverty, the largest poverty reduction in human history. The giant was waking up. The economic engine of the world. By the early 2000s, China became the world's factory. Everything, from toys to clothing to electronics, was built in Chinese factories. But China didn't stop at cheap manufacturing. It moved up the value chain: electronics, robotics, renewable energy, space technology, high-speed rail, artificial intelligence. China's strategy was clear. Don't just make products, innovate, dominate, and export industries. In cities like Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing, skyscrapers rose like forests. Bullet trains connected provinces at speeds other nations could only dream of. Technologies once imported from the West began emerging from Chinese companies themselves. Huawei challenged global telecom leaders. BYD and CATL transformed electric vehicles and batteries. Alibaba and Tencent built digital ecosystems rivaling Silicon Valley. DJI captured 70% of the global drone market. China wasn't just copying anymore, it was competing, and in many sectors, it was winning. Today, China is the world's second largest economy, the largest exporter, the largest trading partner for over 120 countries, a global leader in solar energy, EVs, 5G, and high-speed rail. China has become a cornerstone of the global economy. But economic might alone doesn't explain its rise. Section 4. The political machine behind the rise. China's political system is unique. A one-party state run by the Communist Party with long-term planning, centralized control, and strict social management. Unlike Western democracies, which shift policy every election cycle, China operates on decades-long strategies, 5-year plans, 10-year initiatives, generational visions. This stability, combined with strong internal control, allowed China to develop rapidly without political paralysis. Infrastructure, built within years, policies, executed nationwide, industries, developed at massive scale. Of course, this political model has critics. Concerns include censorship, lack of political freedoms, state surveillance, and human rights issues. But domestically, many Chinese citizens measure success differently: stability, prosperity, safety, and national pride. To them, the trade-off feels worth it. And globally, China's centralized decision-making gives it the ability to move faster than any other major power. Technology, the new Great Wall. In the 21st century, power is measured not just by armies or economies, but by technology. China knows this. That's why it poured billions into research. Quantum computing, artificial intelligence, hypersonic missiles, biotechnology, space exploration, green energy semiconductor development companies like Baidu, Tencent, Xiaomi, and ByteDance, creator of TikTok, built a new digital empire, one that stretched beyond China's borders. The government's Made in China 2025 initiative seeks to dominate future industries, while the Digital Silk Road extends China's tech influence across Asia, Africa, and Europe. If the ancient Great Wall defended China from invasions, today's Great Firewall is a digital barrier that safeguards its cyber sovereignty. The tech realm is the new battlefield, and China is fighting to win. The Belt and Road Initiative, a new Silk Road. In 2013, China launched its most ambitious global project since the Silk Road, the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. Through ports, highways, railways, and energy pipelines, China began weaving a vast economic network across continents. Over 150 countries joined. From Africa to Southeast Asia, from the Middle East to Europe, China funded infrastructure where others would not. Why? Because connectivity creates influence. BRI made China a partner, lender, and builder for developing nations. Some call it economic diplomacy. Others call it debt trap diplomacy. But either way, it expanded China's reach across the world. For many countries, China became a lifeline. For others, a feared competitor. For all, a force impossible to ignore. Military modernization, a new global power. While the world watched China's economic rise, another transformation was happening quietly: its military. The People's Liberation Army, PLA, underwent massive modernization. A blue water navy capable of global projection, new aircraft carriers, hypersonic missile systems, advanced cyber and space capabilities. The world's largest standing military, China has no intention of becoming a global policeman like the US, but it does intend to protect its interests and ensure its rivals cannot ignore its presence. Key regions like the South China Sea became symbols of China's growing confidence. Artificial islands, military bases, and territorial claims placed China at the center of global geopolitical debates. Nationalism and the renewal of identity. China's rise is not only political or economic, it's psychological. After centuries of humiliation, division, and invasion, The Chinese people have embraced a powerful sense of national revival. The narrative is simple. China was once great. China suffered. Now China rises again. This collective identity fuels patriotism, unity, and belief in China's future. To many Chinese citizens, this era is not just progress, it is restoration, a return to rightful prominence. Challenges ahead. Is the rise sustainable? China's rise is extraordinary, but not guaranteed. It faces major challenges: a shrinking population, economic slowdown, trade tensions with the US, over-reliance on exports, debt within local governments, a fragile real estate sector, geopolitical pushback from rival powers. China's leadership must navigate these obstacles while maintaining growth and stability. History shows that rising powers often clash with existing ones, a pattern called the Thucydides trap. The question now is whether China and the world can avoid repeating history. What China's rise means for the world. China's resurgence is reshaping everything: global markets, diplomacy, technology, supply chains, military balance, cultural influence, international institutions. No country can set global policy without considering China. No company can plan for the future without assessing China's role. No government can ignore China's technology, economy, or political weight. China is no longer rising quietly. It is rising loudly, visibly, and permanently. And the 21st century may be defined by how the world responds. The return of a civilization state. China's rise is not just the rise of a nation. It is the return of a civilization that has fallen and risen many times over thousands of years. The 21st century may not belong to China, but China will shape it. Because in the story of humanity, some giants do not stay asleep forever. China is rising again, and the world is watching. Subscribe Timeless Questions channel for more thought-provoking stories about philosophy, history, and the unseen forces shaping our world.